Okay, thank you very much, Mesilo. And good afternoon again to everybody who's attending this session. This session, I'm Mr. Ferndale. I'm the subject advisor in Lejuli Putswa district. And I will be going through and giving you some tips on how to answer the questions in the question paper, how to approach the examination, and so on. So this is all about the question paper. Now, we all know that tomorrow on the 12th, we are writing at 2 o'clock, we will be writing the examination. So we must actually be ready for this examination. I've just put this exam date on the screen so that we can just remind ourselves that within less than 24 hours, you will be writing the examination. Right, and then on this slide, this is the information that I shared with the colleagues, the subject advisors, and I indicated to them they must share it with the teachers, and teachers must share it with the grade 12 learners. The screenshot that you see, it's just what is, if you open this Google site, you will see this is the kind of resources that you will be accessing, and this basically comes from the Eastern Cape. It has got a lot of memorandums. It's got Mr. Long's exam guidelines. It's got the new technology. They've got tips and tricks and everything for your preparation of the examination. Then the presentation outline, it's as follows. First of all, we're going to look at the structure and the scope of the question paper of paper 2. The inclusion of newer technologies, the technologies that will no longer be examined, clarification on some of the blurred technology concepts, and then we will go to the general tips and notes in terms of the examination. We will identify what questions is really asking, the common mistakes that you are making during the exam, and then the words that you must not use when answering a question. And then we'll also go through some examples on how and what you should answer if you answer a question. Right. According to the KEPS document, our question paper is out of 150. And then the question paper has got 3 sections, section A, section B, and section C. Section A, it's our short questions, question 1, 2, and 3. And it consists of our multiple choice, match columns, and then the true and false. And that is a total mark of 25 for section A. Then in section B, we've got question 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is the first question, question 4, system technologies. It's plus minus 25 marks. Your question 5, internet and network technologies, plus minus 25 marks. Question 6, information management, it's 10 marks. Question 7, social implications, 10 marks. Question 8, solution development, that's plus minus 15 marks. And then we've got section C, which is our integrated scenarios. It's 2 questions, question 9 and question 10, both of them 25 marks. So from what we can see from the structure of the question paper, section A counts for 25 marks, section B for 75, and then our section C is it's 50 marks. Then there's also this core content areas for CAT paper 2 that you need to make sure that you know. Right, in system technologies, there's the hardware components, input, output devices, storage, processing units. There's the software concepts, operating systems, the drivers, updates, mobile technology, smartphones, tablets, wearables, performance factors like your RAM, CPU, SSD versus your hard drive. Then there's also the software types, application software, systems software, utility software, as well as your mobile applications. In terms of licensing, it has to do with the proprietary licenses, open source, freeware, shareware. There's file management, the naming conventions, the extensions, and then compression of files. And then there's also troubleshooting. This is and this include common software and hardware issues. So this system technologies, as we explained in the previous slide, the system technologies is 25 marks of your question paper. Then when we go to internet technologies, you must understand the You must understand the internet protocols, HTTP, FTP, IP, DNS. Then there's also the web concepts like your browser, search engines, cookies, caching. You have to understand and be able to explain those concepts. There's also online safety in terms of firewalls, antiviruses, secure connections, and there's also cloud computing. Our benefits, the benefits of cloud computing, the risks, and also the virtualization of cloud computing. And as we explained in the previous one, then there's also the network technologies, where you have to know all the types of networks that's available to us. The LAN, WAN, PAN, MAN, the network hardware that you need, the routers, the switches, the modems, connectivity in terms of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and mobile data. Then there's also the security issues like encryption, authentication, and then firewalls. Under our social implications, there's also the digital divide, access, equity, rural versus urban, cyber crimes, phishing, identity theft, malware, ethical issues, ethical use, like for instance, plagiarism, copyright, the digital citizenship, and also the impact of ICT in education, employment, and environment. This is basically the core content that you need to know for this examination. In terms of information, sorry, can you just mute your mic, please? The person that was talking about WhatsApp. Thank you very much. Then the next content area is our information management. It has to do with the formulation of key questions, to locate data and to direct problem solving. It's also to choose and locate and access appropriate data sources, checking the quality and the accuracy of the data processing, interpretation of the data and the information. And remember, if you look at information management, it all has to do with what we are doing, what we have been doing in the PET, right? Because it's all about the data, how you get the data, the access to the data, the quality, the accuracy, as well as the processing. And also remember, that's why I've put the NB. Some of these questions might be scenario-based questions on the PET. Some of them might be from a scenario in the PET, and then they might ask questions in terms of the formulation of the questions and so on. Can people just mute, please? Mute. Mute. Hello. Hello. Right. There's also solution development, and solution development is questions. Silo.
Grade 12, please, teachers and the grade 12s. Colleagues, please, when you join the meeting and then you please mute, otherwise you disturb the presenter. We have learners and we have learners that are really looking forward for this presentation. Don't disturb the presenter and come up with a lot of noise. Can you please cooperate?
Madam, can you mute those ones because I can't see them?
Yeah, I've muted them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's continue with the solution development. These are questions that focus on the knowledge and understanding and development of solution using application software. And remember, this is the theoretical part of the application software that we are using in practical, right? So these questions will be around the theoretical aspect of the applications that we've studied. And then also what's also for me important is the screenshots, because in most cases, it's like the candidates or the learners don't look at the screenshot because some of the answers to the question is on the screenshot, and it looks like the learners does not see those answers. So it's important when you look at the screenshot, you have to make sure that you look at the screenshot and also you read the questions following that specific screenshot. Right, this is basically just what I've discussed in the previous slides. It just gives an indication of what question 1 to 3 is all about. Question 4, the system technologies. This also just gives you some more information on what you have to focus on. But it's basically the same as the ones from the previous 3 slides. This is just, I took this exactly from the CAPS document so that you can just see that some of these topics, especially if you look at question 4, the system technologies, it's questions relating to the content and concepts and skills in the topic as listed in the CAPS document, including but not limited to. That's why sometimes you get questions that are outside the curriculum, right? And those questions are outside the curriculum because we also have to ensure that we also have high cognitive level questions in the question papers. So in this part, because what I've also before I continue, I've also shared this presentation with the subject advisors that must share it with the teachers, and teachers must make sure that they share this presentation with the learners as well, so that they can just look at the presentation as for them just to guide them through the studies that's supposed to be completed by tonight. Right, then we also have the internet and network technologies. It's also the same, the PAN and LAN and WAN and MAN is there. Then the information management. You see that those information management has to do with the PET that we've been doing. Then we've got the social implications, the impact of ICT in terms of education, the environment, and in terms of our health and everything. Solution development, the focus on the understanding and development of solutions using application software, right? Because this is just the theoretical part. Question 9 and 10, it's the scenario-based. With this one, candidates will be presented with 2 real-life scenarios on which questions covering all topics from the above. It will cover solution development, it will cover social implications, it will cover information management, it will cover internet and email, and it will cover system technologies. All the topics will then be covered in question 9 and 10, but it will be related to the real life scenario that you will be finding in question 9 and in question 10. These questions will assess candidates' understanding of technologies, their ability to make informed decisions, ranging from choices of technology, application software to be used, networking, and so on and so on. And also where you have to, especially in this question 9 and 10, you can also then recommend certain technologies according to what the scenario requests, right? Because if you look at previous question papers, if you look at question 9 and 10, you will see there will be a scenario, and then all the questions that follow will be related to the scenario. Right, then there's also the new technologies that will be examined in the examination. And the new technologies is in the exam guideline. So the newer technologies and the phasing out of some of these technologies will be examined. But with the new technologies, you have to be able to, because it requires a depth knowledge of all the existing concepts and terminology as prescribed in the exam guideline. You must be able to define them. You must be able to say what it is. You must be able to know you must know the purpose or the function, what it does, why it is needed, the disadvantages and advantages, the benefits and limitations, and then the application in an ICT environment. Then there's also the clarification of some of the existing concepts and newer technologies. Most of the technologies and concepts below are listed in the CAPS document, right? Your storage devices and media, your solid state drive, your card reader, right? You must be able to define them, the advantages, disadvantages. Then we've got input and output devices, multi-touch screens, HDMI, 3D printers. We've got communication and communication devices, like for instance, your standard for wireless communication, your NFC, video communication, URLs, your internet technologies, the URL shortness, Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, drone technology, wearable devices, and technology shaping, especially when you're busy with the network, and then also the throttling. Then there's also the properties and metadata, like for instance, geotagging. You must be able to explain what geotagging means. Cyber security issues like clickjacking, ransomware, screen lock patterns, authentication, which means your internet safety. On the presentation is just a definition of, like, for instance, when you look at geotagging, a process where a geographical position of where a photograph was taken is added to the metadata of a file, such as adding the latitude and the longitude, right? Then there's also some other technologies. For instance, how technology can benefit the society or social implications, your crowdfunding, your BOID, bring your own device, big data, what is big data, cryptocurrencies, what is cryptocurrencies, e-learning, your mobile or m-learning, and then there's also your virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, the fourth industrial revolution, the fifth industrial revolution, blockchains. If I can just go back to this. So all these concepts, you have to be able to define them. And one of two of these concepts will be in the examination tomorrow. Because there must be, the new technologies must be included in the exam question paper. It might be falling under your system technologies. It might be in your question 8 and 9. It just depends on what the examiner decides where to put them, right? Because you can see, if you look at the new technologies, it covers your system technologies, it covers the internet, it covers your information management, and it also covers your internet and email, right? So these technologies, you have to know them. Right, the following concepts will not be examined anymore, right? So because, you know, the reason why I've put this, it's because sometimes you look at the previous question paper and then you see there will be a question on digital migration, there will be a question on FTP, right? So those questions, if from a previous question paper that you work through, these technologies will no longer be examined according to our exam guideline that is still valid up until the end of this year, right? So these concepts, your CRT monitors, MySpace, the PDA, the RSS feeds, and trackball mouse widgets, and so on, it will no longer be examined in the examination, right? So you just have to look at them. And then when you see them in a previous question paper, you know this one's it's not necessary. You can actually just scratch them out. Because I know normally we look at previous question papers and then you prepare from that question paper and then suddenly it's not in the exam and then you start asking questions. Right, then there's also this technology concepts that's a little bit blurred, right? So we just need to this is also identified in the exam guidelines, right? In other cases, the set differences between devices may have become blurred. As a result, some aspects of these concepts will not be examined in order to avoid confusion for the candidates as well as during the marking process, right? Like devices such as printers will be examined, but the comparison between various printers will not be examined, right? Your standard for Wi-Fi, 802.11, and then it also has all those others, the alphabetic stuff at the back. Candidates should only know 802.11. That refers to Wi-Fi connectivity standard. That's the Wi-Fi connectivity standard. You don't have to worry about the specific standards like A, B, G, and N, right? Then the concept of a plugin as a way of customizing the browser or the program was largely replaced by add-ons. So your plugins, in a way, has been replaced by add-ons, which is an extension. Mute, please. Can you mute, please? Right. So where was I? The concept of plugins, it's largely replaced by add-ons, which is an extension of software. So candidates will not be required to distinguish between these two concepts. What is plug-in? What is the difference between plug-in and add-ons, right? The term add-on will be preferred. Candidates will no longer be required to distinguish between a phablet and a tablet, because a phablet is a small screen tablet or a large screen smartphone, right? Modems and routers distinguish between the functions of the modem and the router, or even if it's in a converged device, it will not be, there will not be questions on how to distinguish between a modem, what is the difference between a modem and a router. Then there's also the differentiation between LCD and LED monitors. It will not be examined. Right. Now, this is just some general notes and tips for the CAT theory paper. First thing, do not leave out any question. And I'm going to repeat that one. Do not leave out any question, because you guess if you have to. Just write an answer. You don't know. You might be lucky. Then also number your questions correctly and start each main question on a new page. Number your questions correctly and start each main question on a new page. Be careful of the not questions, because it wants the opposite, right? Now, in terms of the numbering of questions, at the Marking Center, we've experienced this. A learner would write 9.5.1 and put the answer for 9.5.2. Because that is not the answer for 9.5.1, even if you look at the memorandum or the marking guideline, you will see this is actually the answer that was supposed to go to the next number. Then that answer will be wrong. So make sure that you number your questions correctly. If you want to skip a question, make sure that you leave that space open and continue to the next question. If it's 9.5.1 that you are not sure of, you want to come back, you leave that space open and you continue with the next question, right? Then in terms of the short questions, answer this first on your answer sheet and not in those boxes, right? Because sometimes learners just wants to tick off in those boxes, but answer them on your answer sheet. If you don't know, this is what I'm repeating from the first one. If you don't know, guess if you have to. However, never put more than one answer. For example, in the multiple choice, where 1.4, the answer, you don't know if it's A or C. Then you put A and C. Then neither will be marked even if your first choice was correct. Even if A in this case is correct, you will still be marked incorrect because you've got two answers. I hope you take note of that one, because this we've also seen at the Marking Center. We've seen it. You are not sure, then you put A, you put D, and then A is the correct answer, but then because of D, nothing, you will get nothing. The multiple choice, guess if you don't know. You do have a 25% chance of being right. This is a tip. If you don't know the answer, you can guess, because there's a 25% chance of being right. In question 3, the true or false questions. If you don't know, guess all of them true. Because in your multiple choice questions, We'll get to the multiple choice questions just now. In your multiple choice questions, there's a possibility that 2 of them might be true, and you will get from the 5, you will get 40% from that 5 marks. Right. If and then no marks are awarded for false if you just write false without the corrected term. Change the underlined word to make the sentence true, right? For example, a printer is an example of an input device. If you say it's false, you have to replace input with output because that will make that statement true. I hope you get that one. But you've been writing exams ever since grade 10. You've been doing this section A, but in grade 12, the mistakes that that learners and candidates are making makes you think, how did this one get to grade 12? If they make this simple mistakes, they leave out questions, they put 2 answers. So really, especially with section A, because you can get a whole lot of marks in section A. From that 25, make sure that you get a lot of marks. Right, for the longer questions, that's now from question 4 to question 10. The first one is very important. In the past, markers continue marking after your first answer. This has changed, and now markers may only look at the first 2 facts or answers for a 2-mark question, right? For this reason, writing in a paragraph rather than bullets is now recommended since you don't limit as much with the first 2 bullets. You are not limited with the first 2 bullets only. Leave a line open between every single question. Even if it's 4.1.1 and then you go to 4.1.2, just leave a line open. Be careful not to write in different styles, as this can be considered another learner's writing. Because the moment at the marking center we look at your script, and then you started writing with this style of to the left, and then suddenly it changes to the right, or it changes to a different style of writing, it becomes a question mark for us, because now it looks like somebody has helped or it's somebody else's handwriting. Try to keep to your handwriting style. Asseblief, because it becomes a question and then we have to look at it, the handwriting, and then it might lead to a irregularity. And then if there's an irregularity, you will not be resulted. That it's a big and it's a huge problem. If you answer a question in a different place than normal, for example, an answer at the end of the paper that you left out earlier or decided to improve, please indicate this where the answer would have been. Make a note that is on, for example, page number 12. All right? So that we can just know at the marking center, we know where to find that specific answer. And remember, candidates or learners, we can answer in any, we don't have to answer question 4, question 5, we can answer in any order, right? You can answer the questions in any order. Right, answer all sections of a question, especially if there is more than 1 point in a question. For example, if it says, you name this and support it with, right, with an example. So you name it and then you give an example as well, right? So you make sure that you answer all the sections of that question. That's why the reading of the questions is also very important. Handwriting is important. If the marker can't read, he or she will probably not mark the question. So handwriting is very important. Let yourself be guided by the number of marks. 1 mark, perfect. Never give 1-word answers. Answer in sentences, but to the point. Let me repeat that one. Never give one-word answers. Answer in sentences, but to the point. Then always give a reason if you give an answer. This will ensure your mark. If you give an advantage or disadvantage, state why you say that. Question 4, question 9, and question 10 counts the most marks in the question paper. It's 25 marks each. If you do well in question 4, well in question 9 and 10, you are already on a pass mark. So make sure that you know this system technologies, and you actually have to prepare everything for question 9 and question 10, because everything can be asked in question 9 and question 10, but it's related to the scenarios in question 9 and question 10. After completing questions, section A, consider answering these questions first before you carry on to question 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? But there's no prescription. If you want to do it 1 up to 10, it's your choice, right? But if you want to do it, this is just a recommendation. Start with question 1, 2, and 3, and then consider answering question 4, question 9, question 10, and then you start doing question 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right, this is just a few notes on identifying the question, what the question really asks. Don't rush through the reading of questions. Read it for a second time if necessary. The most common mistake learners make is to misunderstand the question and answer something completely irrelevant to the question. Take note of exclusions. This gives you an idea of the type of answer they want. But you can't use the answer yourself. What are the advantages of other than? If they say, for instance, what is the advantages of this other than this, then you know the other than must be excluded. Or when it says state 2 ways of creating a network besides, then it means the besides part must be excluded, right? So when you read the questions, just make sure that you understand the question, what must be answered, because you will write the two ways of doing it, and you forget the besides, because that one of them that might be writing the 2 ways might be part of the besides, right? So identify keywords and underline them. Be extra careful of questions in section C, question 9 and 10. You have to stick to the scenario. Lead your answer with a reference to the scenario. Because they will, in the past, you would ask questions. The principal of the school wants to, just an example. The principal of the school wants to establish an e-learning center. And then he needs information on which computers or desktops to buy, what to look at, how to get internet, and how to create email addresses for a specific scenario, right? So you know, then you'll have to answer the question according to what the scenario requests from you, right? So it's in actual fact in question 9 and 10, your knowledge, you have to apply your knowledge of, depending on the scenario, of internet and email, of your system technologies, of your information management, of your solution development. You have to apply that knowledge to the specific scenario. So in question 9 and 10, it's a matter of applying your knowledge to the question that they ask. Then there's a few action words that you'll have to look at and remember. Compare. You have to point out or show both similarities or differences between things or concepts, right? That is what compare means. Define, give a clear meaning of the concept. Describe, state in your own words. Determine is to calculate something or to discover the answer by examining evidence, right? Differentiate, use the differences to qualify categories. Explain, discuss, give a clear, detailed description of whatever topic. Identify, name the essential. So identify and name, it's basically the same. Illustrate, it's give examples to demonstrate. Justify, give clear, detailed reasons for taking a particular position. Name or list, write down the list of items with no additional details, right? Mention, you have to refer to the relevant points, then state and give, write down the information without discussion. Recommend or suggest, give your opinion and back it up with facts, right? Common mistakes and words you should never use, especially when answering your theory question paper. Never use the words such as easier, better, faster, cheaper, more effective, without providing an explanation on why you are saying it is easier, better, faster. I think I must repeat this one because we see this at the marking center. We see this during the exams, the June exam, the trial exam. We see this type of answers. Never use the words such as easier, better, faster, cheaper, more effective, without providing an explanation on why you are saying it is easier, better, or faster. Give specific examples or explain how it is different or compare it to something similar. For instance, the example there, it's the Blu-ray has more storage than a DVD. Assume the marker is not a computer person. Be very specific and use proper computer terminology. Be specific and use proper computer terminology, not things. Right? We see those answers, things. Use proper computer terminology. Don't confuse data, which turns into information after processing, that is data, and then the data used for mobile connectivity. Candidates are making this mistake. They confuse data, information after processing, and then the data that we use for mobile connectivity. Mobile data does not equal cap. Cap is a certain cut-off point. It is not the same as data. Right? Don't blame every problem on a virus. If it could be caused by malicious software, call it malware. A virus is just a subtype of malware. If there's a question on why the computer is so slow, you jump to it's infected by viruses, right? Because everything is blamed on viruses. Please make sure that you don't do that. Then, this is just some tips. Remember, I've already talked about the two answers. This is just in terms of question 1. You see 1.4, and this is taken from an actual script. The learner wrote A and C. The two options are automatically marked wrong. Then your handwriting is also important. Because if you look at number 1.1, you can see there's a C, and you don't know if it's then the learner decided to make it a B, or is it a 3? Or is it a 6? Can you see what I'm talking about? So if that's the case, we cannot see if it's B or C, it's wrong. And this is how you lose marks. And you know, it's for me, it's very sad to see, especially in section A. In section A, learners don't get full marks. They don't get good marks. They don't get 80% of that 25 marks. So please make sure, and even what we also found, it's even in your multiple choice, you decide to leave it open and then you continue. That's why I indicated that if you don't know the answer, just guess, just decide if it's A, B, or C. You can just, whatever you want to write, you write it there. You don't know. you might have a chance, because in multiple choice is your 25% chance of getting it right if you guess. Then this is just some other tips. This is just in terms of question 3. I've already indicated the printer is an input device. Step 1, is the statement true or is it false? That's how you must answer it. Eh? Then in step 2, if false, imagine there was no underlined word. So then you will just indicate to yourself a printer is an output device. Then write the false and the correct term for the underlined part. So the answer will be false and output. If you only write false, it's still wrong, even though it's really false. But then because you did not correct the underlined part, you don't get the mark. And it's 5 marks in true and false. Right, this is just a tip on how to answer some of the questions. This is a few questions that I've just taken randomly. What effect will it have if you replace a laptop's hard drive with an SSD? The learner wrote, the computer will be faster. Right? Without any explanation. On the other side, this is the type of correct answer that you must put. The performance of the computer will improve because the SSD's data transfer rate is higher. How will a barcode scanner improve a store's productivity? The answer here, it will be better. And it's for 2 marks. It will be better because they can work faster than typing it in by hand. Remember, if you use a barcode scanner, you just scan and then it goes. Now, if it was not a barcode scanner, then you'd have to type in the code and then it will take some time. And then it makes less mistakes. There's a higher accuracy rate because you just scan. Suggest 2 ways to fix a mouse pointer that moves in an unpredictable way without replacing the mouse. Remember the questions that we looked at? This one says, suggest 2 ways to fix the mouse pointer that moves in an unpredictable way without replacing the mouse. Now, some learners will then still say you have to replace the mouse, even though the questions say without replacing the mouse. The answer here was install the driver or charge the mouse, because you cannot charge the mouse. You charge the battery, right? That's why on the other side, it's recharge the batteries or replace the batteries or reinstall the drivers for the mouse. Because the mouse already has the drivers installed. So you cannot just say install, because those drivers, there might be something wrong with the driver, which means you now have to reinstall those drivers. Suggest a way to improve battery life of a laptop. They just say set the brightness. So for the person who's marking, so if you set the brightness, is it up or down? Do you increase it or do you lower it? Set the brightness of the screen lower. That will be the correct answer. This is basically the same one, and then also this one of the brightness. Then there's also a few tips on how to answer. Besides can show you what type of answer are expected. For instance, the example of a question, besides cheating, right? Which means you must eliminate cheating. Discuss 2 reasons why some schools ban the use of smartphones. I hope you understand how you must answer this question. If it says besides cheating, then it means you must eliminate cheating from your answer. Discuss 2 reasons why some schools ban the use of smartphones. Then you must ask yourself if your answer can be misunderstood and choose a better word. For instance, storage space small. Do you mean physically or what? the storage space is limited. That will be a much better answer in terms of storage space. An even better answer will be that the storage space will be of low capacity, right? The common pitfalls to avoid: don't leave blanks, try to write something logical. Don't confuse similar terms, for example, RAM versus ROM and LAN versus WAN. Don't repeat the question, get straight to the answer. Some candidates, when they don't know the answer, they rewrite the question. So please don't rewrite the question, don't repeat the question. Get to the answer of that specific question. Right, this is just a link. It's on it's just a YouTube video on how to answer the paper 2. If you get the presentation, you can look at it yourself. This is basically the same site, and then that document there is the study guide that I've put there, the study guide from Gauteng. It's a study guide on the theory. So you can look at it because it has the definition, it's got the advantages, disadvantages, what it's used for, how it is used for, and so on. So you can look at those ones. And then on the day of the exams, tomorrow at 2 o'clock or 10 to 2, when you start reading through the question paper, that 10 minutes reading time, you must read the instructions carefully. Don't rush. Understand what each question requires. Highlight action verbs. Words like explain, compare, justify, evaluate. It will guide you to the response depth of that question. Answer what's asked. Stay focused. Don't write everything you know, only what is relevant. Use examples. Real world or relatable examples can earn extra marks and show your understanding. Manage your time. Allocate time for your self-perception. If stuck, move on and return later. And that's what I meant. When you are on 9.5.1 and you don't know the answer, you then skip a line and then you start with 9.5.2. And when you are done with the question paper, you can go back, or while doing that question, you might remember and go back and complete the question. Right, watch your terminology, use the correct CAT terms or the correct terms like phishing, bandwidth, data integrity, cloud computing. Please use the correct terms. Structure your long answers. Use bullet points or short paragraphs to make your answer clear and easy to mark. Then check your spelling and clarity, especially for technical terms and acronyms. Because sometimes the acronyms does not make sense. Just make sure that the acronym that you are using is the correct one. Now, this is just towards the end of my presentation, just a reminder on the question paper. Question 1, 2, and 3. Question 4, system technologies. Question 5, internet and network technologies. Question 5, information management. Always answer this from the perspective of your pet. Social implications, question 7, solution development. These are questions on your practical work. Then question 9 and 10, it's a mixture of all the above based on a very specific scenario. So in question 9 and 10, system technologies, internet, net and network technologies, information management, social implications and solution developments can be asked in question 9 and 10 again, just like in the trial exam and in the June examination. Then I think this is the